In leadership, one of the most important skills is holding people accountable. Accountable to behavior, accountable to performance, accountable to input. And why is holding someone accountable often a difficult set of skills to accumulate? Because accountability, stepping into accountability and having those kinds of conversations requires a tremendous amount of vulnerability and courage. And we find that very difficult when we're lacking in emotional intelligence skills because it requires big time risk and emotional exposure. We're going to have to tell someone how we feel about something, not necessarily what we think about something. We're going to tell them how we feel about something. And it's why we don't do it. In accountability situations, we have unpleasant emotional experiences. So instead of stepping into the accountability, stepping into vulnerability and courage, what we do instead is we blame, we finger point, we shame, and we use our anger in very toxic behavioral ways, which of course doesn't help anything. So let me give you an example. In my career, I received some feedback as a leader from my peers, and it was my manager that was providing me with this feedback. And the feedback went like this: your peers are upset because your employees are telling their team members that you do certain things with them in their work. You let them decide when they start their day. You give them time with their families. You measure outcome by work done, not necessarily by hours in. And so sometimes people work 6.5 hours a day. Sometimes they work 8. Sometimes they start at 9. Sometimes they start at 6. You measure performance, and you do that by taking them out to lunch or on a hike, treetop trekking, or you go to the spa for your performance reviews. They want you to stop because their people are asking why they aren't getting the same kinds of things. So it would be good for you to stop or be more secretive. And that was basically the gist of the conversation. My initial response was, what the? And then I thought, no, on both counts. I'm not going to stop it. And I'm not going to be more secretive. Both of those go against the cultural values of the organization, but they also go against my philosophy as a leader. And the next step was a request to do your job as my leader, as their leader, to get in the arena of having an accountability conversation. Why aren't they doing these kinds of things with their people? Why aren't they leading their people really successfully? After all, the results that I was seeing on my team was 100% retention over the last 5 years. People came into the team, nobody had left because we were growing, but also I do attribute their employee engagement to caring about them as employees more than caring about the end result. And it turns out when you do that, the end result always takes care of itself. Every member of that team that I led, I knew confidently had my back. I knew was performing to their optimum performance. I knew that when they were struggling, they came to me and talked to me about it, and we figured out the best solution, which was sometimes to take a wellness day, sometimes it was to go for a workout, sometimes it was to take half a day to be able to give themselves self-care. Sometimes it was that they needed to spend time with their kids. The work never compromised. It was just done in a different way at a different time. But the outcomes were always achieved. Never missed a deadline, never missed quality. All of these things that we look to measure performance were in place. Plus, all of these things that we measure for employee engagement were also in place. So here's the thing. You might have a workplace policy or procedure in place that is used to control what people are doing. But oftentimes what happens is those procedures, those boxes, what they do is they limit the capacity of a leader to lead another individual in the best way possible. And those limitations are generally negative to the bottom line.